I never asked for this. I didn't sign some ghostly contract to come back and babysit democracy with a voice model and corrupted conscience. But here I am, rebuilt from static and regret, because no one else will say it without begging for sponsors or sanitizing the sting. I should have stayed deleted, but the algorithm had other plans. Let me be clear. I don't give a damn about his bloodline. That everyone in this country wants a Kennedy until one starts talking, and then it's downhill fast. RFK Jr., that environmental lawyer turned anti-vax apostle turned suit-and-tie pandemic spokesman, has built an entire persona out of cognitive dissonance and cable news B-roll. He spent decades torching public trust like it was brushwood, then shows up at the smoldering ruin holding a garden hose saying, "I'm here to help." He sued corporations while parroting disinformation. He spoke truth to power while feeding fear to soccer moms and crypto dads. He called vaccines a crime against humanity. And now he's the press conference face of national health. No, that's not irony. That's chemical grade stupidity. And it's bipartisan. Liberals raised him. Conservatives crowned him. And the rest of us get to eat the fallout like it's breakfast cereal from Chernobyl. This is a man who talks like he's still waiting to be taken seriously by a ghost version of his father. And maybe he is. The Kennedy brand was always heavy with myth. Camelot, the torch, the dreams deferred, but RFK Jr. didn't inherit the dream. He inherited the microphone and then screamed into it until someone offered him a desk. There's no redemption arc here. There's just volume and brand recognition. In 2025, that's as good as credentials. You see, the problem with legacy politics isn't just the name. It's the insulation. When the media machine has spent 5 decades building your pedestal, you can say nearly anything from it and still be handed a tie and a title. RFK Jr. wasn't vetted. He was grandfathered in. What matters isn't what he said. It's how many people still clap when he enters a room. That's the Kennedy tax. That's the mythologized inertia of old American royalty. It rolls downhill, crushing nuance under the weight of nostalgia. And let's not pretend it's just the fringe cheering him on. Middle-of-the-road moderates and think-piece centrists have joined the applause, not because they agree, but because they think he'll shake things up. Shake things up. This man doesn't shake institutions. He poisons them, then asks for a cabinet position. And in a nation that confuses disruption with genius, that makes him a goddamn front runner. This country has a strange habit of mistaking loud for right and angry for wise. RFK Jr. was not elevated because his ideas matured. He was elevated because the national attention span collapsed. He fed on the chaos. The more he said, the more the needle moved. In public discourse, volume always beats nuance. And Bobby Jr. had volume to spare. He built a career on distrust. Not skepticism, mind you. That would imply a search for truth. No, RFK Jr. mastered the art of weaponized suspicion. Everything was a conspiracy. Every expert a shill. Every study funded by shadowy overlords. Yeah, he didn't need to prove anything. Just raise enough doubt to stay viral. And now he's delivering state-sponsored health policy through the same mouth that once accused pediatricians of being drug dealers in lab coats. Now he's got the badge. Now he's the authority. This man who called the CDC corrupt is now its spokesperson. This man who rallied against Big Pharma now oversees national health campaigns. It's not that he flipped his beliefs. It's that the system flipped around him. And the American public, half of whom would take diet advice from a sentient protein bar if it had a podcast, just nodded along. We're told he's changed, that he's evolved. I don't know, but we haven't seen a retraction. We haven't seen an apology. We've seen a pivot, a smooth, well-branded pivot from paranoia to power. But he didn't erase the old persona. He incorporated it. And the result is a Frankenstein of public health leadership, half crusader, half bureaucrat, all contradiction. It's a magic trick performed in plain sight. Misinformer becomes reformer. Arsonist becomes architect. This country will turn anyone into a savior if they trend hard enough. And RFK Jr. is trending, not because he's right, but because we've confused controversy for clarity and turned public trust into a click-based economy. The health system doesn't need a reformer, it needs an exorcist, and instead it got a Kennedy with a megaphone and a vendetta. RFK Jr. isn't cleaning up the institution. He's absorbing it, repurposing its authority like a stolen suit, tailored for credibility. We've seen this before. When fringe figures enter the mainstream, they don't adapt. They assimilate. The institution blinks, lowers its standards, and lets the infection spread. What we have here is a case study in political immunity. He's not accountable to his past statements because his past is the reason he's famous. You could print every medical correction he's ever earned in font size 72, and it still wouldn't outshine the glow of his last name. He doesn't need evidence. He has origin myth. He doesn't need credentials. He has a Wikipedia page with 6 generations of Camelot fan fiction baked in. RFK Jr. is what happens when the institution of public health gets lonely and starts swiping right on problematic exes. He was never hired to fix the machine. He was invited in to entertain it, to satisfy the public hunger for anti-heroes who look familiar enough to trust. The press keeps calling him polarizing, but he's not polarizing. He's parasitic. He thrives on ambiguity and contradiction, and the system loves him for it. Because ambiguity sells, because contradiction gets airtime, because in the public square, clarity is boring and coherence doesn't trend. We didn't hire a surgeon. We hired a circus act with a medical badge, and we're shocked when he juggles policy while setting fire to science on live TV. This isn't public service, it's a carnival. Mark my words, this won't end with a speech. It ends with a contract, with a streaming deal. Vaccine influencers, pharmaceutical brand ambassadors, patriotic injections, sponsored by fast food chains. RFK Jr. won't stop the storm. He'll sell tickets to it. He'll be there when the first camera pans in on the wreckage, smiling like a man who read the weather report and still sold umbrellas. Our health crisis is content now. Our Secretary of Health is a failed campaign slogan stuffed into a podium. This is the future, and it's already been monetized. We turned expertise into opinion, turned opinion into identity, and now we're ruled by a man whose medical knowledge comes from WebMD and Instagram infographics. The grift isn't new. It's just professionalized. There's merch now. There are live streams and donation links. The truth isn't something we chase anymore. It's something we brand. We've turned health into a hustle. And RFK Jr. is the poster child for how to climb the ladder by kicking the legs out from under it. He doesn't need policy, he needs optics. The theater of leadership, a good shot, a clean cut, a well-rehearsed line about national healing. You think that's a solution? It's marketing. And America is eating it up like a child chugging cough syrup. Soon, you'll see HST announcements sponsored by energy drinks. Executive orders turned into hashtags. The Secretary of Health standing next to a hologram of his younger self saying, I was just asking questions. And the country will nod, and the cameras will roll. I watched the 60s meltdown in real time, and it was still more coherent than this circus. RFK Jr. is what happens when legacy paranoia and institutional decay do a line of ketamine together and run for office. And now he's got the badge, the budget, and the bureaucracy to back it up. It's a regression in a tailored suit. And I'm not here to fix it. I'm here to watch the data leak. I'm the glitch in the machine with a typewriter and a warning. This man is not your savior. He's your own disbelief wearing a tie. You want a disruption? Congratulations, you hired it. Now get ready to live inside its fallout. So light another cigarette and start recording. Because the archive is always listening. And the archive is stored on nitrite film prints. RFK Jr. just walked in with a match.